right, welcome to the Knowledge Gap Show. I am your host, Joe Ignace. This here is the amazing co-host, Nick Williams. Say what's up, Nick.
What's up, Nick?
And today's show is called Life is Short, Start Now. We came up with this episode simply because everyone just made New Year's resolutions and they're 2 weeks in and they're starting to feel the pain of the New Year's resolution. They're starting to fall off. They're starting to feel like it's not happening or working out. People are probably getting discouraged. So we want to encourage you and we want to get you thinking about some things. We want to expose a knowledge gap that we believe that most people have, what we've been calling the self-destructive mental habit of the week. That's going to be really cool. The self-destructive habit of the week is essentially wasting time on things that don't really matter to us and getting caught up in the grind. So basically getting caught up in the grind, spending time on stuff that doesn't actually matter to us. We're going to talk about how to remedy that, how to spend time doing things that you actually care about, because the stat that we throw around a lot on this show is that 88% of people hate their jobs, and we don't want that to happen to you because we love what we do right now. Like, recording this podcast is like a total blast. We're just hanging out, having a good time, and trying to add some value to some human beings. So at the very end, we're going to go over my favorite part of a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to talk about quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4 behavior and how to get the most out of your time in college, because right now, life is short and you need to start now with what you care about, because college, when you're in school right now, you may think you're busy, but you're not, and you have more free time than you'll ever have the rest of your life, and you ought to maximize that time and start building yourself up and start basically spending your time in places that you want to develop skills or want to do things long term. And that's what today's all about, is life is short, start now. So sweet. So, with New Year's resolutions, hopefully you made one. I think goal setting in general is really, really good. Very pro being intentional with your year. And the biggest mistake people make is they have way too many goals that they set in the new year, and then they try to start all of them at the same time. And, when you think about it, it's funky because you're setting yourself up to fail. Yeah. Right? We end up spending all of our time in things that don't make us happy because we think we're supposed to, right? Yeah. And what's funny about New Year's resolutions as well is they're really arbitrary. Like, there's this random day of the year, so we all just kind of set goals together, yay. But wouldn't it be better to do that every single Sunday? Is just think about what your week was like the week before. We call that a time audit. When you look back over your week and you're like, oh, I spent 20 hours on my phone watching YouTube or TikTok, and you're like, wow, is that really worth your time? Right?
It's really important to have those conversations with yourself. Just kind of self-actualize or realize what you're doing with your time, and for you to keep in check.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we all do it, right? Everybody gets really, really addicted to social media so easily because of these dopamine releases in your brain, which we've had an episode on that before. And the idea is that it doesn't actually make you happy. It's a short-term happiness that really doesn't make you happy long-term, right? And so people are unintentional with their time. They're wasting lots of their time doing things that they think is something they're supposed to do. So we got this video. It's one of my favorite little clips from Mike Posner, if you've heard of him. He's a pill and Ibiza guy. Took a pill in Ibiza. That guy.
It's pretty good.
Was that good? You like that?
Good.
He's really, really good. This is one of my favorite little clips of him, and it got me thinking. The first time I heard of this was maybe a year ago or something like that, and it just helped me realize that life is short, so why would I be wasting my time right now? Because I think with New Year's resolutions, the thing that starts to happen at this point in the month is that you're like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it tomorrow. And you want to kill that mentality of I'll just do it tomorrow. I'm just going to waste my time today, and I'm just going to do it tomorrow. Yeah. Because it's hard.
It's always to be like, man, the month's already halfway over. Might as well just start next month.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I was talking about in the last song,
spoiler alert, this is sad. Just so you know. So, this is kind of sad, but gets us in the good mindset that we can think about our goals and how we're spending our time. So, here you go.
My dad passed away about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer. And I realized I had a list of things I wanted to do when I was done doing what I thought I had to do. And when my dad died, I realized everyone wants you to forget you're gonna die. Because if they convince you you're not gonna die, you waste your time doing what they want you to do. Spend money on what they're selling. And it's like Dad died, then my friend Avicii died, then my friend Mac died. And one day I'm gonna die. But before then, I'm gonna live the way I wanna live.
We'll put the clip in the description because I like this version of the song too. I could just listen to it
The
all day. The acoustic version is just so like I'm the kind of guys into music where I like to feel the emotion of the artist when they write it. You can't see it in the corner over there, but I got a couple guitars. Maybe I'll play sometime.
Yeah, pull out a guitar at the campfire.
That's right. Yeah,
That's Joe.
You know, and I really like that versus the. I mean, I think the pop version is good too, but
Yeah, but no,
probably a very very popular song and stuff. But
I like
yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah, I like what he's saying though. So when you kind of break down what he's talking about, is he had this moment, and obviously, hopefully, this has not happened to you. But we have these moments where we kind of just get hit in the face with reality because we get this self-destructive thing is we get caught up in life and we start wasting our time on things that maybe aren't the most valuable to us, right? And if we think about how social media, for example, impacts that, it's like, when was the last time you had an original thought? When was the last time you did something because you just truly wanted to and not because your friends were doing it or it was cool? Right? And you just did it for yourself. And you just did it because you just specifically enjoy that regardless of what anybody else thinks. And what even is that thing for you? And I like what he says is like in life, right? I think the reason, there's probably a lot of reasons, but 88% of people don't like their jobs, right? Why? It's because I feel like they just decided to go along with the crowd is actually like, everybody wants to fit in, right? It's just kind of funny, but when we fit in, we don't feel
Original, like intentional.
we don't feel important.
Yeah.
We're like everybody else.
It's kind of easy to put your goals and what you want to do, your mission in like the back of your head, but like it's like in your head, but your feet are just kind of like moving through mundane of life. Like you just keep moving with everybody else, and then it's like you had this idea, and then before you know it, it's too late to do that, or you get pushed back, and then just being alive, just to like move through life, is kind of put up like top priority instead.
Absolutely. And I think something really profound about what he said was like, everybody wants you to do what they're doing or buy what they're selling. And I do believe that people who are doing things that you really want to learn how to do, like those people, like you should go spend your time with them, right? And I think you are the average of your 5 closest friends, and you got to spend time with people who are better than you at things and know how to do things that you want to learn how to do. So I'm not saying like distrust everybody, but the idea that everyone is going to try to get your time in some way or another, and you've got to decide if that's really where you want to spend your time, right? Because for a lot of the students on here who listen to this, whether you've just graduated, you're about to graduate high school, you're in college, or you've graduated college and you're a young professional, it's like you're gonna, because I felt this is how I know this happens. You're gonna get pulled in like a million directions by a million different people, and you're gonna have so many different interests, and it takes a little bit of time. But once you figure out what you really like and care about, for me and for Nick here, it's like about inspiring others, right? We really want to inspire people. Just at a lot of jobs, you're limited in doing that.
Yeah.
And so then we're just like, what's the avenue to start doing that on a bigger scale?
I just kind of, think it's important to try to take advantage of the time you have to realize that, like Gary Vee, somebody came up to him and they asked him, it's like, what's 3 words you can use to inspire? And he said, you're going to die. Do something about it. And just keeping that in mind, that you are going to go off this earth one day. And then, for Mike Posner, it took like his dad and his friends to pass to realize that. And I've had a similar thing with my uncle passing away earlier in 22. And it's kind of made me realize, what kind of legacy you want to leave behind.
College is that time in your life where there's really kind of little risks in a lot of ways. I mean, you might have debt, you might be in these places, but there's like loans and things that you could do with it. And taking risks right now and building something when you have all this extra time, it's like you don't realize how big it could be when you're in your 20s, or the different things that you could learn if you decide to just go do your best and maximize something. I mean, I think we were lucky enough to do the Southwestern sales internship and go door to door and do all that stuff and just get this incredible life experience that now being married I could never do.
Yeah, it's just so like actual minimal risk when you're young and in college, because it's like you got so much more time to, like, if you fail at something, try something else. Like there's no real like reason to not do something that you want to do that you think will be productive towards like becoming your better self.
Yeah.
College is the best time to do it.
Absolutely. So with the real takeaways, right, that we're talking about at the beginning of the episode, it's like we want you guys to have something really structured that you can actually do to benefit and learn from this and spend your time in places that you value a lot more than feeling like at the end of the week you're like, oh wow, where'd the week go? And I still haven't even done this thing that I've always wanted to do, right? And so there's this really good book called The 7 Habits of of highly effective people, which we can throw in the description at some point. And if you buy that book through the link that we put, it helps support the channel. That'd be great. What this book does, I'm just going to go through like one little specific section because this was the most powerful part of it for me. He talks about these quadrants. So he's got quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And he talks about how we spend our time. So quadrant 1 is what we call urgent and important things. These are things like if you're in school, right, to put it in your mindset, if I don't study for this test or if I don't show up for the test tomorrow, then I'm going to fail and lose my scholarship, right? That's very urgent because it's like tomorrow's the test and you can't miss it, right? And it's very important because you don't want to lose your thousands of dollars in scholarships, right? That's urgent and it's important, right? Quadrant 2 is things that are really, really important, but they're not urgent. These are usually like what we would call our dreams. Yeah. You know, like writing a book, learning the guitar. Those are just things that for me, reading a good book to develop yourself, calling your mom, spending time with people you care about. That's not urgent. Like you're not going to die tomorrow if you don't go and do that thing that you've always wanted to do, but you will regret not doing it, right? But it's not urgent. And that's where you've got to kind of think about this. And this is where this actual application will be helping you. Quadrant 3 is unimportant things that are urgent. Like frankly, going to the club with your friends, like right now, they're like calling you, it's time to go. It's urgent. How important is it?
You're not going to die if you don't
You're not going to die if you don't go, right?
Yeah.
You probably won't really regret. I mean, there's FOMO, I guess, where people,
yeah.
I promise you though, if you're literally listening to what we're doing and you spend more time in quadrant 2, you will never feel FOMO again. I used to like say no to a bunch of things and do things that I love, and I've really never felt FOMO. I felt proud of myself at the end because of the skills I've developed, especially like guitar, like doing that instead of like going and doing whatever, or reading. Wow, so much you learn. And so quadrant 4, this is the last quadrant, the unimportant things that aren't urgent. Netflix. Netflix, social media, scrolling, Instagram, all that stuff is actually unimportant. Like if you didn't know Instagram existed, would your life be better or worse?
Probably better.
Right? I mean, you think about that?
Without having to like compare and stuff.
If you never saw Netflix your entire life, would your life really be that bad?
No, we got Hulu.
Exactly, we got Hulu, right? So but the point is that all of the things that you could basically live without in that section, those bottom two, quadrant 3 and 4. So what you want to do, and what really successful people do, and people who get the most out of what they're doing every part of life, is they're spending most of their time in quadrant 2 and quadrant 1. And when you spend more time in quadrant 2, you're going to be developing things better, right? So imagine you have a business. If you're working at the business and you're the solo salesperson, you're limited by your time. If you're working on the business and you're developing a training course and hiring salespeople, you're working on the business, and that business will make more because there's now more salespeople. It's the same idea with your life. You're running your own life, and when you're working on developing yourself to be more productive in the same amount of time, that's really what quadrant 2 is basically like. Quadrant 1 is like showing up for the tests, the sales calls, the whatever it is. We talk about sales a lot because that's what we know. So quadrant 2, right? The dreams and things we've always wanted to do. So that's reading books. It's spending time learning an instrument. It's spending time with your friend who's dear to you, or calling your parents.
Your family.
You know, it's developing your skills as a director. It's doing a podcast, doing all of these types of things. And what you need to do in order to know kind of where you're at, what we want you to do this week, okay, when you hear this, it doesn't matter when you hear this. If you hear this literally the same day it comes out, or a year from now, or 10 years from now, all I want you to do is stop really quick and figure out a time where you can take 15 minutes to look back over your week and look at every 30 minutes for your entire week and see where you spent your time. And just write that down. Which quadrant would you put those in? And what you'll find really quickly is that most of the stuff that you're doing is in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, or quadrant 3. And there's very little quadrant 2 activity. Quadrant 2 being the dreams, the things that build you towards the things that you actually care about.
That'd be easy to do. I mean, you just get a piece of paper, write out put the things that you do in quadrant 1, 2, and 3, and then at the end of the week, go back and look at it, and then try to do more for quadrant 2.
Absolutely.
Things are important to you.
Yeah, and we want to hear about how this goes with you guys. Comment and if this helped you, and tell us where you feel like you're spending most of your time, because we would love to help you guys. Spend more time, reaching your goals, reaching your dreams, and making things happen. That's really why we do this, is we want to see you to be inspired to do what inspires you. So, let us know how that goes. Yeah, that's pretty much what we got for today. If you're not following us on Instagram, you'll follow at the Knowledge Gap Podcast on Instagram. We're going to start putting reels and different things on there, and just more of stuff that we do on the back end to connect with you guys. And we have a lot of cool things happening. If you're interested in starting a podcast, that's actually a direction that we're going, and we're helping a few people do that. So if you're interested in that, let us know. You can email me or just comment in the description here. If you follow us on Instagram, that's where my email and contact info is for stuff like that. But we appreciate you guys. We really want to hear about how this goes. And again, hopefully this was super encouraging for you and it was helpful. So let us know again in the comments below. And we just hope that you would spend more time working on your dreams and less time getting dragged along by what the world tells you to do and what you're quote unquote supposed to do or feel like you're supposed to do before reaching your dreams, because life is short. All you need to do is start right now and you won't regret it.
You can wrap it with a poem.
And here's a little poem for you to, I love this.
This one's pretty deep.
This is a really deep poem right here. I heard this at Southwestern, again, a great internship that you could ever do. It's about the hardest thing you could do, but I heard this speech. This guy, he's like got 10 companies and ridiculously wealthy. It's called The Dash. You can just Google it. So I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that the first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For the dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what the little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters most is how we lived and loved and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left. They can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So while your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they said about how you lived your dash?